They're back. Every cloud you see is man-made chemical trails that has spread out. I see they're doing these sporadic trails so it don't look so distinct. A lot of skipping, but they are filling the atmosphere up. I'm going to show you on a live satellite. Satellites are very real. Can't believe people think satellites ain't real. But heavy chemtrails today. Well, some people don't believe chemtrails are real, but they are very much real. Chemical trails, dumping chemicals out in our atmosphere. Blocking the sun is crimes against humanity and Mother Nature itself. So much for a beautiful blue sky. That is all man-made clouds. Standing by for live satellite. Good morning, freedom fighters. It's been a while. I had to literally knock the dust off the computer. My mouse isn't working correctly. It hasn't been used in so long, but the little roller thing does not work. If you see any glitches in it, it's because something's messing up. But I had to get a video out of the incredible geoengineering stratospheric aerosol injection taking place over Florida this morning. Yesterday morning, I noticed trails in the sky before I laid down for my daily nap, where I go back to work. But heaviest trails I've seen in over 2 weeks. We've had nothing but blue skies. Let me zoom in here. This is live over the Atlantic Ocean. Heavy trailing starting at a certain point and ending at a certain point. A lot of sporadic spraying, like where they turn it on and off. But let's go back till daybreak. Crack of daybreak, you can see they're already heavily spraying this morning out in the Atlantic Ocean. We are silenced on every level, but I'm at least going to document these events. You can see how this entire cloud formation is man-made, very toxic to the environment. Reports are showing almost 3 billion birds are missing since the 1970s, and I can concur. I do not see the life I once seen as a child, and the insects are completely gone from my life compared to my youth. But let's start yesterday where their operation started. The past 2 weeks, we've had incredible blue skies over the United States like we haven't seen in years. A lot of people thought it was because the shutdown is why the operations ended, but they were spraying in the Pacific Ocean, creating storms that wiped out towns in Alaska. Devastation. New weapon testing, some of it seems to be to me. But let's go back 24 hours, and you can see the incredible geoengineering operation that was taking place. When I came in, I seen 3 trails. First trails I've seen in 2 weeks at least. Incredible operation that was taking place over southeast yesterday morning. People had to notice. I was definitely getting a call from a buddy of mine in the middle of Florida speaking about it. But some incredible geoengineering taking place yesterday morning, and they had not been any amount whatsoever for weeks. Matter of fact, let's go back. I think I can go back about 10 days. Oh, yeah, there's the days right there. It's not that the conditions changed for trails. There were no operations for trails. The 15th, no trails, right on through. See, there's trails on the 17th. It's part of operations. It has nothing to do with atmospheric conditions. It is geoengineering operations over Alabama and Tennessee that has outlawed it for over 2 years. Does no good outlawing these people. They are beyond any law enforcement. All right, let's go on to the 17th, through to the 18th. Back to very clear skies. It only has to do with operations. Looks like some spray in here. Like I said, they created a massive storm out in the Alaska waterways. Back in time, let's see if we can see some of that. I don't know what day that was. A little bit too much there. Let's move on. To me, this year, all the storms have seemed like threats. I mean, whoever heard of a tropical storm becoming 130 mile an hour in such a short time? How many days is that? Just 24 hours there. But whoever heard of it doing loops and stuff like this around the country? You do what we say, or we'll make our storm come ashore. All the storms that did that to here this year, it just seems like they're warnings. You know, we could wipe you out if we wanted to. I don't know. These people have technology that we do not have any idea about. They have not told us about. Last year, when Helene hit up here, we got flooded all the way to here. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't happen in storms. I got wiped out by Hurricane Katrina, but Tampa didn't get flooded from it. You know what I mean? It's you don't get flooded hundreds of miles from the storm usually. Even though it hit here, it was not that big of a storm. We had 25 foot of water in our yard for Katrina, and don't think they couldn't bring that to Tampa if they wanted to. Heavy trails at this moment. The stuff they are getting away with and the lies they are telling people on Facebook's incredible. I'm not sure who these so-called meteorologists are on Facebook. Sad people likes this stuff. We're watching. This is a real photo of time-lapse photos of the rocket. We see this. We watch it where it pauses, where it separates, and then it ignites again. Stages. We've been seeing rockets go up every single week. The amount of weapon technology they have up there now is incredible. Has anybody ever watched The Big Bang Theory? They talk about lasers in every other episode. Space lasers, they brought up even in one. Why they removed me from Twitter talking about the space lasers. But these guys is ridiculous. Chemtrails likely. I mean, contrails likely. They misspelled chemtrails. It's always minus 40, minus 35. It doesn't make any sense. I've seen it minus 70 in Alaska at elevation. These people are part of it. Scientists. They scare me. All of it's just birds. Is that the same guy? Nope. See how they're identical? They all look identical. New York, Hampton, Virginia. It's just birds. Nothing to worry about. It's just birds. So all of this energy is migrating birds. Could you imagine? They are migrating heavy through Mississippi right this minute. They're talking very cold this coming week in Florida, I guess, from what one of these meteorologists said. I don't even see how this storm could be a category 4 in just 2 days. It's Friday, so 3 days. So it's not going to go anywhere for a little while. But it doesn't even look like a storm or hurricane. It's not recognizable.
When I was young, these so-called hurricane hunters would go out and investigate weather. Be a little patch of storm. Oh, we're going to investigate it. They don't investigate shit now. They just tell you what it's going to do. When Helene and Milton was formed here in the Gulf off Mexico and Texas or whatever, my uncle works for an oil company. They knew it was going to go to Tampa before it was formed. They already had that info. They wasn't going to evacuate the oil field because it was going to go to Tampa. When I was young, they would evacuate the oil field as soon as one was in the Gulf because it takes so long. But why would the company already know the destination of a hurricane as it's forming? It didn't make any sense to my uncle at that moment. He was telling me about it. I don't know what to do with these people. They're lunatics. Anyhow, I hadn't made a video in a while. There's not much sense since they have completely blocked all of us from the real people. I don't care if you're getting a million views. I got a million people in this county. You're not getting out to anyone. Anyone that matters for sure. But I appreciate all the warriors that looks up and sees my stuff. It seems to be about like it was last year, about 200 people care. Even when I had Twitter with 20,000 followers, I felt about like 200 people cared. And I do appreciate each and every one of your comments, very much so. See what else we got. I've made several videos documenting the clear blue sky that's now over. The one I showed you a minute ago. But it was beautifully clear. Beautiful stars. I shut all the lights off on the shrimp boat the other night, and you could really see the Milky Way, and my helper was just blown away. He's never seen it before. You're not going to see any of this on land with land lights. We were 25 miles offshore, well, from our tripod, probably about 15 miles offshore from land. But you couldn't see Florida anymore. The lights were beyond the horizon. But here's a little video about understanding the tides with the moon. I can tell you what the tide is doing by seeing the moon. I can here in Florida's west coast. It's not like the same everywhere. North Florida, the tides are completely different because they're in the very northern part of the Gulf. So it's not everywhere, but Florida's west coast and on the east coast, I can also tell you the tides. But a little video here about the tides and how clear the sky was before the trails came back. Had nothing to do with the shutdown. They were just spraying somewhere else. Hope you liked the video. I just want to teach people how to read your tides with the moon. The moon is a magnet to our oceans.
Good morning, freedom fighters. Just cracking daylight from the Australian pines. But there's the moon. Very early in the morning now compared to 2 p.m. or so when I filmed the last time. Getting towards the last phase of the moon. The sun is just rising. Like I said, it shows where the sun is. Oops, very zoomed in. The other day I was in the afternoon. Tide is still coming in. It's not straight up yet. Straight up here on the west coast it's high tide. Straight up on the east coast it's low tide. Because the moon is a magnet to the ocean. But the moon is getting smaller. We're on a decline. It will be dark nights very soon. Which it is pretty much. It only comes up right before daybreak. Last bit of the moon. Tide is coming in almost high, and we'll be soon starting out. Standing by. Understanding our moons and tides. Understanding our Earth. Standing by.
And this one here is a day or so later. Barely can see the slither of the moon now. We're in dark nights right now. It's beautiful dark nights, not any. In the next few days, I can look it up on the chart, but we'll start seeing the slither of the moon again soon. When the moon's between us and the sun, we can't see it. You know what I mean? The reflection of the sun is, we're seeing the dark side of the moon. You know, the sun's reflection's on the opposite side. I understand our planet more than the scientists do, most likely. All right, I am with nature. Let's put it that way. Watch this, 4 minutes long, and it's talking about the geoengineering, I think.
The last little bit of the moon. Good morning, freedom fighters. It is hard to zoom in on that little slither. The moon is almost completely in between us and the sun, and it will be dark nights for a few days before I see the slither again. Tide is almost high. Probably is high in Tarpon Springs. As the land slopes to the northeast, just a little bit later in Hernando. But tiny, tiny moon. Got to really look for it. A couple birds that showed up. Meteorologist was talking about how the energy from Next Lab, see the dead trees, is birds flying at night, daytime, night, all of it. But I thought he was crazy saying they fly at night, and somebody's like, you don't see them at night because it's dark. But I have commercial fish at night my whole life, and you know what? I have seen them at night, flying in tight, tight groups. I had to think back on it. I can see them migrating at night. It would be much easier. You guys, you know how you woke up and the birds are there in the morning? But all that energy they're showing ain't birds. It's not birds. As the birds, almost 3 billion birds are missing since my youth. When this tree was alive, got a little dove in it. These trees were full of birds. Morning dove. Amazing life here when I was a kid. The insects too is just completely gone. Brazilian pepper plants. Hernando County outlawed them, but Pasco County don't care. They spread like wildfire. Zero geoengineering aircraft for about 5 days now, I guess, maybe a little longer. I seen them spray at night. Monday morning I had jury duty. Try like hell to get out of that, but postponed for 6 months. The judge was very rude people in the court, but pretty ashamed of them actually. No geoengineering, no aircraft of any kind. So where's all the planes? If the conditions has changed, there's just no planes at all. Beautiful blue sky. Oh, another note. They've been launching rockets on a weekly basis. I see more satellites at night on my first drag than I've ever seen now. Their technology they're putting up is truly incredible. Mad scientists controlled by lunatic billionaires. As our trees are dying and the birds are missing, no bugs, very few fish. We got bird feeders out here, man. I'm not seeing very many birds yet. Commercial fishermen standing by, pleading for help to keep the skies blue. Commercial fishermen out.
Yep, looks like we're going to get a big front on Wednesday. Something different about our cold fronts now. See how we have like southwest wind? A little bit there. Just a little bit of south wind here right before the first wind switch, but then it just amps up. We used to have a lot of south wind before the fronts, and we're not getting that now. It's just northeast, northeast, and northwest front. That's why it's going to get cold, but that's where we get our coldest winds, northwest. See the offshore buoy. .35 offshore, yes. Breezy, that's my night to work too. Breezy conditions. Still breaking daylight across the United States. This here is a little behind too. It's about 20 minutes behind, looks like 25, 27 minutes behind. Man. Wish they wouldn't spray it. I really miss the blue skies. Really wish they let us out to the public so the public would know what they're doing or get away with. Ripples. Seen ripples over here too. It's pretty heavy ripples. Huh. Ripples that don't go anywhere. The clouds just pass right through it. I'm going to switch gears here a minute. And I've seen where Ice Cube has tried to mention the club, how the people that owns the music industry also owns the private prison industries. The music also corrupts our brain to do bad things and stuff. But I just found it kind of interesting what he's saying here. Never heard of this site before, Mastermind, T Mastermind. I did subscribe, see what else comes out. But Ice Cube here is very interesting to me. 3 minutes, let's listen. If there's any commercials, I apologize. I'm not able to get rid of them anymore. They've changed the system so much, but there's people in Hollywood that has trying to come out with the evil plans, and they seem to have something happen to them every time.
Some of you may not have realized that I'm not part of the club. And a lot of you listening to me right here, right now, you're not part of the club either. And what I realized with the club is what makes them so mad is when you don't want to be a part of their club. That pisses them off. What club am I talking about? I'm talking about the club of gatekeepers that we all got to deal with. You know who they are, and they definitely know who they are. A lot of people would be like, what? Who? Come on, man, stop playing. So ever since I put out the contract with Black America, you know they've been with me. Here and there, this and that. But it's cool, you know. I expect that. You know, I've been working with, on the big three for a long time. And you know how they've been with me with that. I done made it, plain, simple, and clear what they've been doing. The NBA been with us. Now, a lot of people might say, like, well, but Cube, you want to work with the NBA. Really, I don't give a fuck about working with the NBA. What I want them to do, when I say work with us, is to stop working against us. Stop doing that bullshit behind the scenes that we know you're doing. Mainstream media, they ain't with us. And that's cool. We can do it ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We still on the rise without these motherfuckers. So we don't need them. You don't need them. You know? So what am I going to do to deal with these motherfucking gatekeepers? Well, what I'm going to do is go on a Gatekeepers podcast tour. And I'm going to go talk to everybody, you know, and get a chance to get my message out to the people. Be able to let people hear from me, you know. And you know, you might agree, you might not. But the important thing is, you know, for me to go on these platforms, say what I feel about what I think. And, you know, some people may get pissed off because I'm going to talk to everybody. I'm not playing. And it's gonna be a crazy summer. It's gonna be fun. Appreciate y'all. Always support the big three. Hopefully I'm doing stuff that you guys dig. You know, I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for people that's bored as fuck in the summer with summer sports and want something cool like the big three. So here we are. Appreciate you. Much love, much respect from your homeboy Ice Cube. Remember that.
Okay, my friends, I'm really not sure what the big three is, but I found that video interesting. But here's another one from Roseanne Barr that I found very interesting, that she's kind of scared of something as well with these people. And we know they've blacklisted her for a long time now for speaking out for whatever she spoke out about. You know, if you speak against these people, they just blacklist you. Look at Marlon Brando, what they did to him when he spoke about the influence of the Jewish people on Hollywood. Gone. Anyhow, let's move on to Roseanne here. It's just a few minutes. It's another man's video here. You might see him at the end. I just thought she was interesting what she said.
Good morning. If I was to tell you guys what's really going on, you'd all lose your shit forever. And of course, I don't want that to happen, because when you lose your shit and you don't think right, you're in a vulnerable position, and you can be led astray easily. So we don't want that. We don't want a docile workforce here in America. We want a robust workforce and strong communities and law, rule of law, of the people, by the people, and for the people. May that form of government long live upon this earth. Because once they let that go, man, there's nothing left.
Now, although she didn't lay it all out there, there's a lot of us that are thinking and feeling exactly the same about this matrix.
I wish she would let her finish it. I don't know where the original video is. I just seen it. Okay, my friends. Sorry it's been so long. I'm sorry that the tyrannical government is walking all over us. But there's people in our past that knew about that. I didn't know Napoleon Hill until today. For whatever reason, his video showed up. And he died in 1970, so this is probably fairly old. I'm going to play a little bit of it, which I listened to. Like he goes through a lot of different stuff I haven't even heard. But I just want to play a few minutes of his wisdom. And I kind of live my life that way. One thing that the Egyptians taught me is that we can't take any of this with us. So Spent my life building memories instead of wealth. Standing by.
You have been lied to. They told you to work hard, save a little, retire at 65, and that this was freedom. But if 40 years of labor ends in a pension too small to live on, what do you call that? You were not born to serve until death. You were not born to watch life pass while you trade your soul for a salary. The world does not reward the obedient. It rewards the man who sees the trap and walks out of it. And that man begins here. Listen closely, because if you miss this message, you may work to the grave and still die poor. You believe you are free. You believe that hard work will pay off. You believe that one day, maybe after 40 years of labor, if you've been loyal, if you've saved, if you've followed the system, you will get your reward. But I say this to you without apology. If 40 years of labor ends in dependency, then who truly owned your life? I have seen it too many times. Men who gave their entire youth to a job, only to reach the age of 65 with a tired body, a trembling hand, and a fearful glance at the calendar because their money is running out. They obeyed every rule. They stayed quiet. They did what they were told. They worked. They waited. And when the waiting ended, there was nothing waiting for them. I ask you again, who owns the life of a man who gives it away one paycheck at a time, only to die uncertain, unfree, and unremembered? You must understand this. Slavery has changed its costume, but it has never left. The chains are no longer metal. They are made of routine, of debt, of low expectation, of unexamined beliefs. You were told that the system works if you follow it. But what you were not told is that the system was never designed to make you rich. It was designed to make you useful to someone else's wealth. I will not soften my words. I am not here to encourage you. I am here to awaken you. Because until you see the truth of your condition, you will never walk free. You will smile politely while you waste your years and call it responsibility. You will praise the men who enslave you and call it employment. You will wait for a retirement that barely covers your rent and call it security. This is not a tragedy. This is a choice. And that means it can be unchosen if you are bold enough to face it now. In this speech, I will give you the laws that the wealthy learned while others were asleep. I will tell you exactly how Carnegie, Rockefeller, Schwab, Ford, and Lincoln rose from nothing, not by chance, not by favor, but by alignment with truth and obedience to law. You will learn why work alone will never make you free, why retirement is the reward of the obedient, not the free, how schools are designed to shape employees, not owners, why your job is not a plan, it is a placeholder, how the rich obey invisible spiritual laws that poor men ignore, how your daily habits form the prison you call life, why waiting is the enemy and movement is the cure, and how the man who refuses to serve eventually becomes the one who commands. You will answer these questions. What is my life really producing? Have I mistaken obedience for purpose? Why have I delayed the building of wealth? What must I stop doing immediately? What must I repeat every day until my freedom is real? If you are honest, truly honest, you will realize that you are not free. Not yet. But if you stay with me, if you listen to every word, if you repeat what I teach and apply it with precision, you will no longer work until death. You will build a life that works for you. And let me say this plainly, the chains are in your habits. The key is in your mind. And this is your last warning before time makes the decision for you. Affirm this aloud now. I refuse to work my life away and die poor. I was born to own, not to obey. Let us move forward now into part 1. Work alone will never make you free. You have been taught to believe in labor. You have been told that hard work is the answer. That if you simply clock in, stay late, serve well, keep your head down, you will one day rise. But the truth is this. Work alone will never make you free. You can sell your strength to another man's dream for 40 years and still die without a name. You can give your finest decades to a factory, to a company, to an office, and still retire into scarcity, watching the calendar and the checkbook with equal fear. I do not speak against work. I speak against misplaced loyalty. The man who works without thought is no better than a machine. The man who works without purpose is no freer than a mule. And the man who works without ownership is still a servant, no matter how large the paycheck appears. Let me teach you the difference between labor and wealth. Labor is the effort of the body. Wealth is the command of thought. Most men sell their hours for another man's vision because they never understood this law. Money obeys thought, not time. A man can spend his entire life in toil and be passed by the thinker who dared to build a system. One man digs a hole, the other sells the shovel. Who do you think gets rich? The poor man always points to effort. He says, I worked hard. I showed up every day. But he does not realize that the reward never goes to the one who merely shows up. It goes to the one who builds leverage, the man who, through definite thought, creates something that works without him. Andrew Carnegie worked once and profited forever. He did not simply swing hammers in a steel mill. He designed an empire. He built a system of processes, men, and materials that multiplied while he slept. He used his mind to organize men with skill and vision. And from that moment forward, his ideas earned more than any single day of labor ever could. That is the secret the worker never learns, that the mind is the only true factory of fortune. Yet you have been trained differently. From youth, you were taught to associate hours with income, to believe that your value is based on how much time you give. But time is a poor man's currency. It is the one thing you can never earn back. And every time you trade it for someone else's dream, you are selling the only thing that is truly yours. The truth is this: men were trained to work, not to think. They were trained to obey, not to build. And now they wonder why they labor for a lifetime and have nothing to show. It is not injustice. It is programming. And it must be broken. You cannot continue to believe that more effort will bring more freedom. It will not. What brings freedom is ownership. Ownership of thought, ownership of systems, ownership of purpose. Until you stop working blindly and start working with definiteness, you will always trade your life for crumbs. Listen to me. A man who never escapes hourly labor dies a servant. It matters not whether you wear a suit or swing a hammer. If you trade your time for pay with no greater plan, you are merely a more expensive slave. But there is a way out. There is a new law to obey, a new identity to form, and it begins here. Affirm now, speak with power. I do not sell my life for crumbs. My work builds ownership, not dependence. This is the beginning of your liberation, but if you stop here, you will fall back into the same old cell. So let us move forward.
If you have a 700 plus credits, 150,000.
Part 2, The Retirement Lie, A Slave's Reward. You were told to wait. Wait until your 60s. Work while you're young. Save a little here. Sacrifice today so you can enjoy tomorrow. And when tomorrow comes, you're tired, you're broke, and your freedom is nothing but a memory you never lived. Retirement is the lie they gave slaves so they wouldn't revolt. The truth they never told you is this: you are not saving for freedom, you are saving to delay collapse. The whole structure was built on the assumption that you would obey long enough to become too weak to question it. They gave you just enough security to keep you from running, just enough hope to keep you from asking, and just enough fear to keep you working. I say this without apology. The man who waits until 65 to begin living was never alive to begin with. You think retirement is a reward? It is a leash. They call it a pension. I call it permission to survive. You were never supposed to reach your final years with dread in your chest and a calculator in your hand. That is not freedom. That is a sentence. And the only crime you committed was trusting a system that was never built to set you free. Let me show you how wealth works, not the fantasy, but the formula. True wealth is not saved. It is not rationed. It is not handed out at the end like a prize for obedience. True wealth is built through value. It is the byproduct of thought, decision, and the courage to step off the assembly line. Look at Henry Ford. He didn't save his way into millions. He didn't work for someone else until he was 65. He created something that multiplied without him. He built systems. He saw opportunity where others only saw jobs. And because of that, his wealth worked while he slept. That is the difference between the man who builds and the man who waits. The builder lives now. The waiter dies hoping. You were taught that delayed gratification is the key to success, but the truth is that delayed vision is death. If your entire life is built around a reward that only comes when you're too tired to enjoy it, you were deceived. You want to know the truth about retirement? Here's the truth. Most men never make it there. They die before they ever escape the wheel. And the few who do arrive with a body that's weak, a wallet that's light, and a soul that's forgotten what it meant to move with purpose. It doesn't have to be this way, but only if you're willing to break the lie today. Affirm with power. I do not wait for freedom, I build it now. I reject the retirement trap. My wealth begins today. The system rewards the silent. Part 3. Schools create obedient workers, not rich men. You were trained, not educated, conditioned, not liberated. From the first day you stepped into a school, they were not preparing you to own your life. They were preparing you to serve someone else's. The school system does not produce creators, it produces cogs. Think carefully. What did they teach you? Sit down, be quiet, memorize, repeat, obey, raise your hand for permission to speak, wait your turn, learn the rules, follow instructions, stay in line. Now ask yourself, how many of those lessons do you see in the life of the rich? None. Because no man ever became free by obeying everyone else's commands. The men who rose, Carnegie, Edison, Ford, they broke the line. They rejected the path laid before them. They thought, they imagined, they questioned, they moved with belief, not compliance. Let me tell you about Thomas Edison. He was thrown out of school. The teachers said he was unteachable, deficient. They told his mother he would never learn. And what did he do? He went on to bring light to the entire world, not because of a classroom, because of belief, because of persistence, because of vision. And here is the great irony. The same system that rejected Edison now teaches about him. They celebrate his name, but they punish the spirit he lived by. The truth is this. Schools do not teach wealth. They do not teach imagination. They do not teach faith. They teach order. They teach comfort. They teach dependency. They teach you to memorize a script and never to write your own. If you want to become rich, you must unlearn the thinking that made you poor. You must cast out the false beliefs that were planted in you by those who were never free themselves. You must question the path. You must think for yourself. Ask, why was I taught to fear mistakes more than mediocrity? Why was I never taught to build income? Why did no one speak of definite purpose? Why were the laws of wealth, faith, autosuggestion, desire, organized planning left out of every curriculum? I will tell you why. Because obedient workers do not need wealth. They only need enough to survive and to keep showing up. This is not an attack on learning. Number this is a war against indoctrination. Education is power when it liberates the mind. But when it only trains the hand, it becomes a prison. If you want to rise, you must retrain your thinking. You must study what the free men study. You must speak like the man you intend to become, not like the one you were trained to be. You must ask questions they never let you ask. Who benefits from my obedience? Who profits from my delay? Who taught me that my value is measured in grades, hours, or approval? The moment you start questioning, you start building your exit. You were not born to follow instructions. You were born to give them. You were not made for desks and bells. You were made for vision and command. And if you are willing to reclaim your mind, you will reclaim your life. Affirm now, with certainty, I think for myself. I question the path I was given. I was not born to follow instructions. I was born to give them. Part 4. A job is a temporary solution, not a permanent strategy. Let us be honest now.
Okay, my friends. Really good video. There's still another 20 minutes of it. Excuse me. Brutally honest. It's funny that it stopped right there. I've been brutally honest my whole life.
A job is not.
I have been brutally honest my whole life. I don't like beating around the bush. Our entire planet is clouded over besides the little bit of blue we had. These operations has nothing to do with our government. I don't know why it's been so clear for so many days, but our government's still shut down and they're still creating weather, as we can see. They're not going anywhere. Sorry for tyrannical government that's soon to be here. There's a reason the commercial fishermen and the farmers are being attacked. We bring in the food. Control the food, control the people. They're making people sick with the food. I've never seen such lethargic humans in my life that I see now. People are asleep at the wheel. Commercial fishermen standing by. They're trailing out here in the Atlantic as well. Chemtrails off Canada. I can only imagine what's been going on the past few months. I haven't been paying attention. It's felt kind of good, guys, taking a break from it, the stress. Kind of let the Lord play it out, whatever's going to happen. Ships out in the Pacific Ocean. This is today. There's something out here pumping out smoke. We don't leave trails, or unless there's something seriously wrong with the equipment. Ships do not put out trails, just like aircraft don't put out trails. It's chemicals. Yesterday was brutal what they did. Unbelievable trails. Commercial fishermen standing by. Sad watching our planet being poisoned. Very few birds, very few fish, and very few insects. Commercial fishermen out.